Welcome back to Soul Ascension Insights. My name is Dave and I'm your host. In the last 3 episodes, I spoke about the greed, fear, and coercion our secret government uses to hide their true nature and exert power over the people they are sworn to protect. In this episode, we'll look at ways we can create a new way forward for all the people. This will be the last episode of our Secret Government series. With that said, let's get started with episode number 18, titled Our Secret Government, Part 4. Remember Ben Rich, former director of Lockheed Skunk Works, who said, quote, "If you've seen Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort," end quote. Here's a quote he gave in 1993 at UCLA, quote, "It is time to end all secrecy on this, as it no longer poses a national security threat, and make the technology available for use in the private sector," end quote. He's saying that the same technology that powers extraterrestrial spacecraft can and should be adapted for civilian use. It is the creation and implementation of standalone zero-point energy devices that will have the greatest effect on our country and the world. These new energy devices will provide usable power that is clean, limitless, safe, and essentially free. Dr. Stephen Greer has been working on this issue for years and believes he has a way forward. A radically new research and development project that incorporates the following interlocking strategies. This research and development project will be open source. No intellectual property or patents will be pursued at this time, allowing for open sharing and feedback from the research community. There can be no holdbacks. All developments, circuits, and operational breakthroughs will be shared via the internet in real time with the public and other researchers. Live streamed. All labs will be 24/7, 365 live streamed so that the public will be invested in the process, sharing the results, successes, and setbacks. There must also be a massive PR multimedia public education effort to run simultaneously with the research and development effort. Any radically new technology needs an equally transformative media and educational effort so that everyone around the world will understand the tremendous possibilities of these new energy devices. The objective? To create a robust, multi-kilowatt over unity device adequate to run a home, business, or car. The ideal system will be solid state with no moving parts, using readily available components that are cost-effective. Radioactive, hazardous, or potentially dangerous materials will not be used. This device would effectively replace the need for oil, gas, coal, nuclear, wind, geothermal, and solar energy systems, along with power stations and transmission lines currently used on Earth. And lastly, governance. An overall project director would be needed who will oversee the work from each lab to ensure transparency, public education, and the strategic safety and success of the project. Imagine research labs all over the world working through problems and sharing their findings, ultimately creating and producing hundreds of thousands of safe, standalone, clean energy, zero-point or over unity devices, and our secret government would be helpless to stop it. Once this genie is out of the bottle, it will signal the end of the oil, coal, gas, and nuclear utility company monopoly that our secret government counts on to fund its illegal black budget programs. I encourage everyone who sees the potential of these new technologies to follow Dr. Greer at www.seriousdisclosure.com. There was a UFO crash retrieval event referred to as the Brazil incident of 1996. Local residents saw something crash into the woods outside of town. Just after this, 3 young girls were walking to school when they saw a small, tan-colored being with red eyes crouching against a wall. The police were notified and found that this being was injured, so they put it in the police car and drove it to Hermanitas Hospital. As the doctor was examining this being, it communicated with the doctor telepathically. The being said, quote, that his race felt very sorry for human beings because all humans have the same potential and abilities to perform the very same things his race does, but we have not realized we are powerful, eternal, spiritual beings, only living in a temporary shell, and we have totally disconnected from our spiritual self, end quote. The being died the next day, and of course the U.S. military came in and took the craft, bodies, and all other evidence of this event. But this being gave us an important insight, and maybe it's all just that simple. Remember Da, the Gray from episode number 13, who kept teaching Sherry Wild the 3 things to remember? One of the 3 things was monitor your thoughts. Da said, quote, everything that is happening in your world is a result of your thoughts. Every thought that every person has creates an energy stream, and it brings about the life we consider to be our reality. The reason our planet is filled with pain, trauma, war, and disease is because of our fear-based thoughts. So it is that we cannot bring about change in this world until we change our thoughts. So we need to be aware of the voice that seems to speak inside our head, because those thoughts are directing your life. And you have the power to change those thoughts. That we should replace any negative or fearful thought with ones that are positive and loving. Your life will be whatever your thoughts are, and we should not allow thoughts of fear to dominate. You change your thought, and you change your life, end quote. I believe this to be another incredibly profound statement. Maybe if we change our thoughts from fear-based to love-based, we can also change everything, including our secret government. I'll end by offering you a challenge. Is there an internal monologue going on in your head most of the day? Is that inner voice critical, complaining, and often mean-spirited? You know, that does not sound pleasant. Here's your challenge. Start with 5 minutes a day, sit still, hopefully in a quiet place. Close your eyes if you want, and clear your mind of thoughts by focusing on your breath in and out. If it helps, silently count 1001, 1002 as you inhale, the same as you hold your breath, and the same as you exhale, and repeat. The Navy SEALs use a similar technique they call 5 by 5 by 5. Although this breathing exercise is beneficial to the mind and body, the number of seconds is secondary to the main goal of clearing your mind of thought. If 2, 3, 4, or 5 seconds works for you, perfect, as long as you control your thoughts. I find counting to be very helpful. If a thought flies in, notice it, let it go, and return your focus on your breath. And at the end of those 5 minutes, take stock on how it feels to be free of negative thoughts for just those few minutes. As you increase your time, also notice throughout the day if intruding thoughts are negative or positive. If a negative thought comes in, stop the thought and replace it with a positive thought. Of course, anything worth doing takes practice, but ultimately, if you use and practice this technique, it will allow you to monitor and control your thoughts. And if a small majority of us change our thought energy from negative to positive, from fear-based to love-based, I see no end to the positive benefits we will create. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Soul Ascension Insights. We have gone on quite a ride together since episode 1, and the journey continues. I started this channel because I believe the concepts I've been reading about for years could uplift and improve the earthly journey we all share. And I hope you agree. As always, I'll leave a book and media list below for those who wish to explore this topic further. Thanks again, and I'll be back with more episodes.